Hey YouTube, and thanks for watching Junkworks Garage. Well, this video was going to start out more of me working on and hopefully fixing my tractor. Unfortunately, what I planned to do did not work. So therefore, instead of throwing all this footage away, I thought I'd just kind of show you how I made these brackets, which technically work. I'll even show you in this video. But they aren't going to work they're just not going to work the way I planned on it. I will go check out my Massey Ferguson, it's George Massey Ferguson playlist. Go check out that playlist, and sooner or later on that playlist after this one, there should be a video of me putting new hydraulic cylinders on this thing, because I couldn't find anything to fix this with as far as what would directly fit in. And to fix the ones I have, they're very old. First of all, I'm sure I could bring them in and get them fixed, but it was going to cost me quite a bit more to fix them than just to buy new ones. Had I known how difficult it was going to be, I might have taken that route, but that's going to be in another video. So for this video, it's just going to be me kind of building the brackets, using the bracket. You know, that actually is in here. It does work, and just kind of unfortunately failed for this process, but it should work for a lot of other things. Just kind of how I built the brackets, what tools I used to build the brackets. So without further ado, we'll just get in this video and I'll explain more later as time goes on. I am not an engineer nor an expert at anything I'm doing. What I'm about to attempt is something that could possibly go badly, so don't try this at home. If you try anything I do on this video, I am not responsible if you get hurt, and if you don't like the way I'm doing something, definitely don't do it. I'm getting ready to make a template here to do what I'm about to do, so I'm just going to kind of let you look at the process I'm doing. Just like everybody else, a chunk of cardboard, fitting it in there where I think it might go, and a mark here for where I wanted it, and then tried to bring it kind of straight up on that where it's going to be, and kind of figure out where I want to be on this piece and put a mark there. Figure out where I want it to probably have the pin through, so I'm going to probably bring that a little bit further forward here. I'm just going to, for right now, draw a straight line this way, and I'm actually going to go past and bring it back this way just to kind of add a little bit up in this area to kind of lend some beef to this. And I'm going to do a better job of drawing my lines and cut it out. I measured the hole with the calipers there, so I know the hole is going to be inside this square here. I obviously need to figure out exactly what size that hole is, figure out something I can draw a hole and cut it. But the biggest thing is I need to figure out my pin. This actually sticks out a little past this right here on both sides. So plus, if you look at this right here, you got this thickness, which my metal is the same thickness that I'm using as one sheet of this, or you know what they have here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's the same thickness as what's holding this in, but on both ends here they have an extra plate right here, and on the inside of this one there's kind of a square plate, just a small one right here as well. So since I need double thickness anyway, I am probably going to make two of these and then weld it together, which should hopefully, no, that's not going to work either, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. So I'm going to have to make one plate that goes up here, another plate, this plate right here that goes on the outside, and I'm going to have to weld on a chunk right here just to get that extra, kind of like what they did right here. They just have kind of almost just a washer looking thing, but it's square right here that gives it a little bit more thickness just right in this area. So I'll probably do that, weld a plate here, put this on, so that'll shim that out to probably a little bit wider than what I need right here, which a little bit of movement's fine. I'm not worried about it. This has some movement here as well, and the old one did as well, so I'm not worried about that. And then I'll just put cap out here probably where the bolt will go through. That'll pretty much answer my question that this is going to be sitting out, you know, 3 thicknesses about to there probably, and this pin will not go all the way through. So I'm back with my patterns here. I went ahead and grabbed this bolt here. I went ahead and made a pattern also, the one that's going to go on the outside. So this is going to go through there. I have a hole punch that's for like leather working that I punch these holes with. If you don't have that, you can probably cut something, make it work. But that's going to go on there. Let's see here. Whoop, I didn't look at my stuff. I have R and L. I have a left and right, so I know not to do what I just did. Going to be something like that. Yet again, I'm going to take these pieces here and I'm going to make one for this side and 2 for the other side. I should be able to flip these around and make them work on that side. That's why I have it marked left on this side and right on this side. I do need to mark them more to know what direction goes where here, so that would help. I'm going to hold these together so I remember. And then I'm going to start cutting out pieces of metal now that I have this pretty close. And then on the inside where I have to deal with these hydraulic lines, I'm definitely going to have to cut some of this off and kind of be real careful because welding around it's metal hydraulic lines. Well, I got these all cut out. Obviously, I do not own a plasma cutter. I would have used that, but I don't own one, so then I don't have one, so that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Either way, although my cuts are very not even, even with a plasma cutter, you're probably not going to get them super even, and you're going to want to try and even things out a little bit here. So I got 2 sides that are pretty close. to where I want to have it, and the rest of the sides are way off. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and tack these together on a couple of sides, and we're going to take and grind or cut. I haven't quite decided yet. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with all the plates that I have. So I've actually started on this and it was going fairly well, so I'm going to go ahead and film it. I've just got my Harbor Freight bandsaw here. Love this thing. Wish I would have had one a long time ago. But this is working really good. It's not super fast, but it's pretty accurate. And yet again, these patterns I've cut are representations of what I need, not exact copies. So they're going to end up what they end up, but this is how I'm going to make them all the same for the most part, by just cutting to the smallest one I have here. So here we go. So you saw me drilling some of these out. Basically, I need to clean this up more, but there's going to be this plate. I'm going to drill similar holes, but in different spots on it. So first of all, I'm going to kind of line this up about where it's probably going to end up on here. So I'm going to call it somewhere in there. This doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even really matter that I drill the holes in a different spot. But what this is I'm going to plug weld these. This actually goes on the tractor, so I'm going to drill some different holes here. So if I accidentally plug weld over another plug weld, it's not that big a deal, but just for my purposes, I'd rather not. So I'm going to drill different holes in this one. Well, the last place you saw me working on these, I was welding all these plates together. Quite honestly, I've been working on this for probably like a month. My body is not doing well this winter and it's put me down for a while, so I kind of am forgetting where I was at. So if this doesn't mesh, you'll kind of understand what's going on. Regardless, I've already drilled the hole in the big plate here, but I actually put these two plates together. Well, I put two plates together. I got this one set up, so I don't want to pull it out. But I put these together and drilled the holes, not thinking about the fact I needed the double plate here that I need to drill through. So I ended up having to weld that on these ones as well. And then when I'm done, I'll show you a little bit more here. But for right now, I'm trying to weld or drill the same hole that is in this top plate here into this plate as well. So what I did is I actually took my hole saw here and put the bit right up inside there, so it's barely sticking out, so I can place it in this hole, and that way I can make sure these are as close to center as I'm going to get them. there's that hole. So now I got to do the same thing with this one here, but on these ones I need to drill all the way through both of them. So I got to kind of figure out, I'm going to have to use this plate, get it as close as I can to where it needs to be. I'm probably going to go like that. What I probably should do is actually weld these together and do the same thing. We'll bring it up through there and bring it all the way through, and that way when I'm done with this one I can use this one as the template for this one. So that's my plan. I'll probably fast forward through a lot of this. First of all, I'm going to go clean these up because now they got a bunch of cutting fluid on them. I'm going to put those together, and just like I tack welded over there, I'm going to tack weld a couple tacks onto these. Now I need to clean them up with some acetone. I'm going to grind them down really well, get them completely clean so they're nice and done and finished looking to some extent. It is a tractor anyhow. But then I'm going to go ahead and paint them. Then I'm going to have to let the paint dry, and then I'm going to have to grind the paint off wherever I need to weld things. So blah 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 blah. That's what I'm going to be doing next. I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to let you see. You may just see a blip here and a blip there of what I'm doing real quick, because I've got to make this video a lot shorter than it is, or nobody's going to watch it. Alright, so in the end, this is what the bracket ended up looking like. I ended up having to cut this down a little bit, and the reason why I did that, and actually when I cut this one back off of here, I was going to actually cut this across here. I did that on the other side in the video, but I failed to do it on this side. But the reason I'm doing that is so I can get a good weld from this plate to the plate behind it. I was going to try and just make them all one plate, but as you can see, that would make a really thick weld, so I'd have to do a root pass and then a pass on this side and a pass on that side just to make this as strong as I want. So instead I decided that we were going to just make this plate stuck to the machine and then weld each plate to the next one in front of it. Same with this right here. I would have probably cut this down a little bit more here so I could make a better pass around and make, you know, a weld similar to that would go all the way in here. Plus, I didn't grind this down as much on this side. This was definitely just the test side. By now, you'll realize I've gotten the other side of this tractor all done. I left this side together so that I could just test that before I even bothered with this side right here to see if it was going to go through the motions and all that. And so here's the test for that. I got this ratchet strapped up. On the other side I used a wire hanger thing and decided this might be a better idea. An even better idea would be an actual ratchet strap rather than one of these that you gotta mess with. But I got this up the way I had it before, so it's hitting in the same spot. Now here's the thing, on the other side I had to modify those brackets, and I was gonna tear those off and just trace them onto here and modify these brackets the same. But I really don't want to undo that till I've kind of finalized everything and make sure everything's going to work. So therefore, I am going to go ahead and try and kind of just figure out how I did it on the other side and trace what I think I need to do to make this work. And I'm going to go look at the other side and figure out what I need to do here and try and get them pretty much the same. So what I was doing there was grinding the edges of this down just to kind of make it so that my weld should hopefully penetrate a little better into this and kind of hold the front of it. Hold the front of it as well down to where I'm putting it. Now about the holes, I'm using those. I'm not sure if I've talked about this already before, but regardless, that's for spot welds so that I can weld into there and weld it to what's behind there. Another fabrication mistake: when you're building something that's supposed to go on one side, make sure you make the other one that's going to go on the other side the right way. I have these. I ground a bevel on these, and unfortunately I ground the bevel on the same side. So if I go to use this on the other side, the bevel's supposed to be sticking out, but that's the side that's going to stick out. So I grind this bevel. That's going to make that a little bit smaller. I'm not worried about it in this situation. It's not going to be a big deal. But that's something to think about when you're making parts for opposite sides. Do the opposite on everything on the other side, which I did on every other part, but for some reason this part I just didn't get it right. I'm here, got my plates going here. Now it's time to kind of figure out where they're all going to fit. As you can see, I also got my welding blankets kind of covering up some stuff. I'm hoping not to start on fire here. And I got my marking pin here. And the first plate is going to be this plate right in this area, which I've already marked. I have a black Sharpie I used. I've realized that these paint pens actually most of the time are better. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I can kind of see where this plate's going to weld on here because I marked that. So I'm going to go ahead and grind this off just around here. I'm going to keep the paint as much as I can. I'll probably grind some of this rusty area off here and maybe a little bit around here. So check that again here, just kind of get an idea of where I want it. Make sure all that is there. Missed a spot. I'm just kind of setting this on here, this first plate, so it kind of covers the hole and gives me enough room that I can kind of put a good bead around the whole thing. And then yet again, I'm putting these are where unfortunately I'm hitting the hole here a little bit, but this is kind of where I'm going to spot weld these on as well. And I'm going to go ahead and grind all those spots. Alright, and this is one of those places where I probably should have a mask on. I don't know what this paint is. It's really thick and it really stinks when I grind on it, so it probably isn't very good to breathe in. Could even have asbestos in it. I don't know if they put asbestos in old tractor paint or not, but a lot of old stuff had asbestos in it, so could. Alright, so now I should be able to, I'm going to have to hit a spot here. The more time you spend here, the better your project will at least hold together. I don't know how pretty it's going to be, but it's going to hold together. Alright, I think this is ready to weld on. I have realized that this rocks on here. I'd kind of forgotten on the other side I had to deal with this as well. There's definitely a spot, a high spot right in this area. Probably where these just kind of come through at, and this is squeezed in over time. So basically I need to bring this corner down, but I want to kind of mark it here so that I can see where I need to start bending it here. Just kind of through this area over here. That and there. This corner needs to come down a little bit, so I'm just going to give her a whack. Remember last time I kind of went too far and had to go back and forth a little bit here, so I'm going to go test this. Got that on there, and no rocking at all, no rocking that way either, and we're good and solid, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I got the Eastwood MiG 175, and on here I don't know what thickness this is. It's at least the thickness of what I'm welding into here. Regardless, I got it set on H7.5. Seems to be where it likes it. That looks like a good spot. I just got the ground holding it there, and I'm just going to tack it on all the corners for now. And then I'm just going to put a couple stitches around here to hold it good. And yet again, this is just for testing. I'm going to cut all this back off of here, do some more situating if I need to, and then I'm going to weld it in for good, and then that's when I'll be filling in all the spot welds and things like that. Now, it's time for this one here. I'm pretty happy with that. It's going to go through there. And I actually think I need to cut this down a little bit here, to be honest. I also think I need to mess with this a little bit more. That's part of the process here, is to kind of figure out what needs done. But for now, I also need to see I do think I need to knock this just a little bit, just tap it a little bit, because this has got a little bit of a wobble to it. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I think we're going to cut a bit more off in there. And I actually, sadly, think I'm going to take a little bit more off in this area as well. Take all that off of there. And then I'm going to mark this. That's why I like fitting it a piece at a time, just tacking things up, because this definitely probably came a little bit further that way than I was really planning, but it works good here. So now I need to modify this piece to work with this piece, and that's just part of the fabrication world there. Not that I'm a professional fabricator by any means. Alright, so now I know I need to grind this edge and this edge right there as well for my next welding process. Well, I got this cut down now. Hopefully things work out here. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side of this arm. It's exactly the same process, just harder to film. And because it didn't work, obviously it's not here on this side now. That's why I just tack welded the whole thing up. Now it was sturdy enough, as you saw yet again in this video when I had it out that door, that it was sturdy enough to lift the bucket. I wasn't worried about lifting the bucket. Now, before I would have put anything in the bucket, I would have definitely wanted to fully, at the very least, stitch weld these things. I was able to get it off of there fairly easy by just cutting into the welds there and popping it off there with a little chisel. So there's a better look at it. Now, yet again, it looks a lot different. So the reason for that was, like I said, those first cuts I made were just kind of preliminary cuts to get the part where I needed it. And then to make it actually work with the cylinder and stuff, I cut this down so it looked a little bit nicer than what was there. Obviously I left room so I could stitch weld all the way around this here. I would have probably welded this one almost full through here and then stitch weld the bottom. So if any moisture did get in there, it would allow moisture out. Same with this one here. Obviously I could have welded behind this one along here a little bit, but honestly I don't even know if I would have done that, yet again, to allow moisture to get out from underneath if need be. And then this one I would have probably just welded this around and made it fairly even all the way around here, because this was sticking out the bottom. So as you can see, this is just hanging out down here. So if I would have just welded this one just nice and made this look all nice and ground it down. Yet again, I just hadn't got to the point of finishing these off, and I'm obviously probably not going to unless I somehow use them on this side when I fix the tractor. In that case, yet again, go check out that and see how I'm gonna fix this, because unfortunately, I'll just tell you, you can skip through this if you want, but I'm going to tell the story a little bit here. To make these work without chopping this all up here, because of the size of these cylinders, I'll talk about that in that video a little bit more, so I'm not going to tell the whole story. But to make this work, I went ahead and put it so that the cylinder was basically backwards in here. Well, to make that work, I'd have to have a bunch of pulleys and bungee cords and everything to wrangle all the hoses. I was hoping I could maybe make a hose go down to here and it wouldn't be too bad, but just didn't work out. So we're changing plans here. So to do this, I used some $9.99 grinders. Every one of those cost me $9.99 or less. I paid $8 for the orange one. I am using a drill press. Yes, it was my grandfather's. When he passed, I got it. So yeah, but I went a lot of years using a hand drill. You can do everything I did in this video with a hand drill. And technically, if you don't want to get one of these, this was $99 at Harbor Freight. I would have bought this a long time ago and this a long time ago had I known how nice this makes life. But I went a lot of years using one of those hand grinders right there, just cutting everything just like I did when I cut these plates out originally. So you can get by with that, a hand drill, and that's it. But if you want, you know, hopefully you have the money to buy a $99 bandsaw at some point, and I don't know, a couple $100 drill press, maybe more. Go find one off online if you can, and you'll probably get a good deal on one somewhere. And these, I would pick these things up all day, every day for $9.99 at Harbor Freight. As you can see, I have lots of them, and I have only had one fail on me in the probably going on 25 years or more of buying them. I bet there's one of these at least, maybe two, that are over 20 years, maybe 25 years old. And as you can see, I don't cut, you know, super small stuff. I do stuff like this quite often. So there you go. Now you know they're not the best. They're, you know, they may make your hand feel a little numb if you use them for too long. So take a break every now and then. Let the tool do the work. That's the thing. If you let the tool do the work, it'll get done. Now, as far as the paint is concerned, I did paint them both sides, front and back, as you can see. This is barbecue paint, and as you can see, you know, anywhere where I tacked it, it held up okay. There's definitely some empty spots, but if you use, I promise, if you use any kind of primers, weld through primers, any of that kind of stuff, two things, in my opinion, we'll put it in my opinion, because I know there's going to be people out there hollering about this and arguing about this, but by all means, say anything you want below, as long as it's not foul language. I will delete foul language. Regardless, I think, in fact, I know, because I've done some testing, as far as those weld-through primers and things like that, it burns away wherever you weld it. Second, it makes crappy welds a lot of times. Third, it will absorb moisture and actually cause more rusting on the part behind it. How I know? Because we did a test in school, and when we did nothing at all and weld through primer, and the weld through primer one actually looked more rusty, had more rust damage on it once we pulled it off of being outside for, I don't remember how long it was, but regardless, it looked worse. So testing was back in the early 90s, late 80s, so I'm sure things have come a long way since then, but nothing you're getting in a rattle can like everybody's using is going to be much better than that. So to each their own on that. That is why on this particular purpose I went ahead and used barbecue paint, because I figured it would probably hold up decently to welding. Anywhere I welded it, I went ahead and ground off the paint, so I got a good weld as far as that's concerned, and I figured that might keep some of the moisture and corrosion from happening in between the two pieces. Anytime you have two pieces put together like this, you're gonna have rusting. Doesn't matter if it's a brand new car to an older car. That's just kind of how it goes. If you put two pieces one in front of the other, they're gonna rust, get moisture in between at some point, and they are going to rust in that particular spot. Regardless, there's my little blip on that. You guys can choose to do with it what you would like, but I don't use weld through primers. So in the end, unfortunately, my tractor is going to have to go a different route, but I figured why waste all this footage of me and how I built these brackets. I figured somebody could get more use out of learning how to build a bracket than actually learning how to fix their tractor anyway. I was thinking about kind of going more this route anyhow, but because of how this turned out, that's where we ended up with. This is a bracket making video, not a tractor fixing video. But I do think there was enough information in there. You guys could figure out how to build brackets that we're fairly rudimentary with fairly rudimentary tools and inexpensive tools. You don't need high dollar stuff to make a couple brackets. You really don't. You don't need plasma tables and plasma cutters and all those things. Yeah, would they be nice? Definitely. I would love to have a plasma table. But I don't have enough room in my shop for a plasma table. Now, a plasma cutter, yes, I would love to have one of those, but I don't have enough money in my bank account to get one of those. So I use grinders and a $99 bandsaw that I got from Harbor Freight. And yes, I have the drill press. That was my grandfather's. I got it when my grandfather passed. So yes, that's something I got. One of the nicer tools I have. It's also from like the 80s or 90s, early. But you can use a hand drill. I went a lot of years, probably over 30 years, with nothing but a hand drill in my hand doing a lot of stuff. If I knew what I knew now back then, I would have got a drill press a long time ago. But they're not cheap, so live and learn. Now get out there and get your junk working. Thanks for watching Junk Works Garage, where I'm proud to say I'm a jack of all and master of none. You all have a good one.